Hey, everyone. Good evening and happy Wednesday. We are back for another episode 39 to be specific, of Black Women in Business, the Dirty Truth. So, if you missed last week's episode, be sure to click that link in the comments for YouTube where you can find all of our previous episodes. One through today's will be loaded at some point in time. It probably would behoove you to go and watch last week's because this is kind of a continuation, but on, you know, a different side, so to speak. So go and check that one out. But today we want to talk about what happens if you need to take some unexpected time off in your business. Will your business survive? When the three of us were kind of talking about this, Dayna made the comment that a lot of times when business owners have to take time off, especially in the climate of what business running a business looks like now and the types of businesses that are out there, this is where people's businesses kind of tank or like completely go away because of them not being able to run or work without them having their hands on their business. So we want to talk about that because we're in the summertime. Anybody who is a parent, your children are out of school, you want to spend time with your kids, you don't want to be sitting behind a computer or on your phone, or and add to the guilt you may already have around running your business and not giving time in other places. This is going to help with that. We want to talk about what happens when the unexpected comes up and you have to take time off, and how your business can survive, the things that you could possibly do. Just to remember, Dayna made a really good disclaimer, but we're not like the end all be all. A lot of this is going to come from places of we've been there, done that. So take this, add this, tweak this, make this work for you in your life. This is just kind of to give you a heads up and a starting place, if you will, for when you need to take time off that isn't scheduled, right? All right, so let's get into it, ladies. What happens when you need to take time off? Does your business thrive and survive, or do you have to start all over again with a whole brand new thing?
Yeah, so let us know in the comments. Do you feel like unless you do it, it don't get done in your business? Like, let us know. Maybe you have a team, maybe you don't have a team, right? Maybe you are the team, right? Either way, do you feel like if you take time off, then it's just more work when you come back? Or if you take time off, that things aren't going to continue to grow and thrive. Now, I will say, kind of addressing this, something that more recently came up for me, just in the wake of a lot of tragedy and a lot of things that were going on. And so for me, one of the things that I was grateful for, and so this might be like the first kind of tip for you to kind of put things in place, is I'm a big batch and scheduler, right? So I have content that is just out there enough that I can still keep showing up online, or I can keep showing up in my business in a way, even if I'm not physically there. I have a lot of automation that's going out. I have a lot of systems that are in play. So there's spaces where I don't have to necessarily be there, but that's not gonna live and thrive forever. Like, I have to kind of come back, right? So tip number one, make sure you plan ahead, right? So if you're writing notes, tip one, plan ahead, because things are going to happen, right? So whether it is the loss of a loved one, or whether it's an illness, or whether things are going to happen. So because things are going to happen, it just only makes sense to kind of have some pieces already moving and in play. The next thing that I do want to kind of address in your business, even if you're not in a place to hire or outsource, I do want you to kind of think about, though, the people on your team. And if the honest truth is you don't have anyone that can kind of know what is going on in your business, should you not, that's a problem. Okay. Even if it's somebody that doesn't work in your business, maybe it's a spouse that is just like, hey, yo, when I have to like go off, like, these are the emails that need to go out. This is the mailers that need to go out. This is how clients need to be taken care of. Have somebody in play, because again, it might just be a temporary situation, or it might be a little bit long lasting, but at least that way it takes a lot of pressure off of you. And I feel like we are in a different stage where we are addressing things and taking the time to heal from things. And so it's important that you acknowledge that. It's important that you accept that within yourself and within your body, that you need time off. You need time for rest. You can't show face all the time. And so this is what it looks like in this moment. So that's where I'll kind of kick it off from.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I know we talked about a few episodes back about cultivating a culture and, positive workplace within your teams. And I was going to say the same thing before Dayna said, like, if you are working, it doesn't matter whether you're network marketing, you have a brick and mortar, like whatever the business, if you feel like, if I go away, nothing's going to happen because these people can't do it, there's a problem already within, whether it's a culture as a whole, or you just need to fire and rehire because these aren't people that can, run your business. Like, I mean, you go into McDonald's, the owner of that franchise is not there. The store manager is not always there. Like, there are people in play to run that store effectively, we hope, to do what it needs to be done. So you need that for yourself. I would go one step further with Dayna, is if you can't afford it yet to have things in play, this should be like at the top of your list, like having CRM programs that work for you. Maybe it's time to reevaluate where you're spending your money, where you're investing in your business, because time off is a thing. Like, what happens if it's just something as simple as, look, I'm burnt out, I just need to take a few weeks off. But if you are like, but no, because this week comes up, my regular email, there's an email that goes out every Tuesday, or I go live every Tuesday. Like, if all those things are going to come up, you're never going to be able to take time off. And like we mentioned in last week's episode, you know, things have to be able to flow for you, right? You want to have things in place that when they come up, you can just say, okay, this is what I need. So you can delegate. Hey, delegate, not delegate, delegate. Like, listen, this email is gonna go out. I've already have, like Dayna said, batching. I already have the next 2 weeks here for you. Just load them for me, like a list. And you can hand over to your person, or better yet, you have somebody that you work very closely with in your team that knows this is what happens. All right, I got you, Tameka. Go. We'll see you when you come back. Take care of yourself, or just enjoy the time, or whatever. You got to look at where you're investing, because there are so many programs out here that can facilitate your live, right? You going live on that every Tuesday to give your top tip for Tuesday, or your motivational Monday. Like, there's so many programs out here that can keep you still in your rhythm, that you don't have to do in real time, and you're still serving your people. Brick and mortar is the same way. There are things that you have automation. If you've got your supplies get delivered, your products get delivered Thursday, but you're not open, but you're normally there, then you need to schedule your manager or somebody to be there. But this is where your delegation and that positive culture team is going to come into play, because without them, you're going to be starting over, or dying on the trail, because you need those things in place.
I'm going to just hop in with one thing just to add on to Mika's, just because. So even if, like, let's say you found yourself in a scenario where you didn't plan ahead, right? The other thing that I always tell business owners is your message should just continuously be the same. Honestly and truthfully, if you think of any advertisement, all they do is tell you the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So repurpose. So that might be a space where you say, you know what, well, I had a really dope reel that, caught a lot of people's eye that I posted a month ago. I'm going to change that into carousel. Or I'm going to take the knowledge that I had in there, and I'm going to just make it a stagnant post. You might kind of slow down with some of your video, because that is going to take more energy and you have to show up a certain way. But you might just say, hey, let me make some adjustments and repurpose what I already have, right? Or even emails. So maybe with your email campaign, I promise you, the email that you sent out 3 months ago, half the people don't even remember it. All you have to do is take maybe the bottom thing that you said, move it to the top, and scramble it around, but say the exact same thing again. And they're still going to be like, this is the best information I've ever seen. Right. Like, so they didn't save your email. They don't, they don't remember that you sent that like 6 months ago. So repurpose would be my other thing that I would just kind of add to that.
And not to stop you from talking, Andriana, because I see your eyes going, but something just popped in my head. On the other side of that too, is in the event that you like Dayna's saying, you didn't, for whatever reason, you don't have it, it's something that happened on your normal like scheduling day, you can simply just send out some kind of message, a thing on the door, communicate to your team and to your customers. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is who you can contact. And then maybe when you're in that better space, you can deal with that point of contact for your business and say, hey, this is what I need you to do. This, and this, and this, and this. Again, it takes a team and it takes that kind of positive culture that we talked about, but transparency can be your biggest helper in that situation. If you are caught in that situation, like with your pants down, you can just simply say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Because I'm sure that your branding anyway is to be honest with your customers, and you just in your brand would tell your people, hey, this is what it is. This is who you can contact, and business will flow after that. And then instead of panicking and doing nothing, that is still communicating with those that you need to communicate with, and it's effective. Okay, Andriana.
No, I was just going to chime in with, I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but I took a break. I say from February up until now, just because of some stuff. But I've had to take some step back, and I did not plan ahead. I did not batch schedule anything. I could have. I have a whole lot. I got on here and I was like, oh, I have a lot of videos, but then I didn't post them. And so now my own business is suffering. And now I have to feel like I'm rebuilding again for the 15th time. But don't do what I did. Find time, make time, delegate time. I know we have an episode about delegation and just allocating all of those things. Just do it, because Chad, you're gonna end up like me, starting over.
I will say, as far as the like starting over though, sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think about what was it now? It was a year ago in February where my account got hacked and I lost everything. And honestly and truthfully, I thought it was the most devastating thing in life. And I'm like, why me? But I will say, starting from scratch got me so much more focused. And I realized, like, especially because when I started my other, like, just the Oily Hair Boss page, originally I started it, I think I was in Vegas on vacation and everybody had Instagram and I did not, right? So the first portions of what I have on there is just like my vacation, having fun, da, da, da. There was no like direction for where that should go. So that meant that even though I was at 5,000 some followers, the vast majority of the people that followed me in the beginning were following me for something different than I really wanted my business to be focused on. And so although I'm maybe about halfway back to what I was, I now have more like active followers that want the actual business information that I have and are going to convert them to sales. So I'll just add that little piece in there. But the other thing I want to talk about, because in business, I feel like it's a little bit different a lot of times than when you have a regular job. And I know there's viewers that are listening that have both, right? But to a certain extent, depending on your profession or depending on your job, right, you can be mourning, you can be going through some things, and you can still, because you don't represent you represent a company, right? So you can still kind of go to work and do a little bit to just save face and then get a paycheck and know that you're going to get paid, right? Whereas as a business owner, you are the face, you are the brand. You are what everybody looks to, right? So if you're not bringing the energy, if you are not bringing like 100%, right? Everybody feels that energy, right? So they know that there's something going on. Now, depending on what your business is, now I am a person that I am transparent, but I don't share all of what's going on with me. So I, a few weeks ago had a post where I just said, you know what, like, God, you said you wouldn't give me more than I can bear. I don't think I can take too much more, right? That was a moment of me being transparent, but also because I know my community, what happened is I got a flux of all of these messages and information because they first saw me as Dayna, not just Dayna Marketing, Dayna Oils, Dayna, right? It was Dayna, right? And she's going through something tough. And so at those moments, I actually got to see what a beautiful community that I have because all I've ever done was outpour to them, right? Like, so I'm the positive one saying that, girl, keep going. You got this, cheerleading on. And so then now I needed to receive that back. And I do feel like there's spaces to have that. But my word of caution would be is sometimes we go a little too far over here and we go into details so much on our business pages, right? Like this is separate if like you want to vent and talk about stuff on your personal page, right? But in our business where we're just airing out all our dirty laundry. And then now there's a certain aura that people don't really want to be around. They're like, "Ooh, she got a lot of drama going on in her life." I don't know if I want to really deal with that, right? So find that harmony for yourself, and it's okay to share some of those vulnerable things. It's okay to share those certain spaces because it actually more humanizes you, and people are more attracted to that. But just don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't make your whole situation depressing. And then people are like, I don't even know if I want to shop with you, right? You talk about wellness and you talk about mental stuff and health and this and that and other, and you can't get it together, right? So just think about a little bit of all of those things and how that play into it. But be okay if you're not okay. Okay. Ask for help if you're not okay. So I don't know. Sometimes I start numbering things. So this is my second tip. I know we done had multiple tips in there, but my second tip just would be okay if you're not okay and ask for help. I know that is one of the hardest things for us to do just in general, but especially in business, you might be in a space where you're like, I can't carry this anymore. It's okay to let somebody else be the face of your page. It's okay to like let them run with it because it might even not be somebody that's on your team. Like for instance, I think of like the three of us, right? Like if Andriana came to me and she'd say, hey girl, I'm done. Like I don't have it in me. I need a break. Would you mind? Because I know that there are certain things that we do that are similar. Would you mind showing up on my page? Would you mind collaborating, inviting me to be a collaborator on stuff? So some of my stuff is showing up on her stuff, but it keeps her business alive too, right? So I feel like I keep using like social media analogies. I know business is beyond social media, but just think about some of those things too, because then when that other person is in a season, right, you might be able to step in to help them. Okay, so maybe I teach the class for you and you bring your people to my class so your business can still grow. Maybe I do certain things because you're not in a space to do it right now. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, and to that point, my next couple of tips would be this is a perfect opportunity or place for you to start being consistent with evaluating, like what Dayna's saying, evaluating your processes or things that are in play so that if you do have a village around you where you can say, hey, can you come into my store? And Dayna has mentioned plenty of times before that she she owned a spa. If she ever needed to leave her spa for whatever reason, and she's got people that do, I don't know, there's lots of things, but she could have somebody come into her spa, and even though maybe they're not providing her services, it's another service happening within her store that is still bringing people in, like, oh, I didn't know she provided this. Oh, I didn't So it's still bringing people in, and it's still keeping your business alive versus you shutting the doors completely. But evaluating like those collaborations, like have you worked with somebody in the past? Like I said, the three of us are very similar, but also have unique areas of genius that if that were the case, you could come in and teach my audience or Andriana's or Dayna's audience something new that actually marries very well with what you're talking about. So look at those things, and it's like a contingency plan. We'll call it a contingency plan. Have a contingency plan so that you know where you're going, who you can reach out to, who your village is. And then my next one would be like your reserve funds. So we talk about a lot about it still working while you're not working. But what about the reserve funds? Do you have other people on payroll where you still have to pay your people? Because if you want them to work, they want to get paid, even though you may have a few people that are like, I'm here for you, whatever, we'll deal with it later, but not many, because everybody still needs their coins to pay for this expensive world that we live in. So you want to make sure that you have a reserve fund. We talked about our money archetypes before. I can't remember what episode, but that's a great one to know, like your whole thoughts around money. But I am somebody I am probably overly prepared for what could potentially happen. I am probably like risk assessed up the wazoo. I'm like, I can probably give you 1,000 situations that could potentially happen, even if they're 0.0001 chance of happening. I'm probably prepared for it. But I feel like there's no such thing as being overly prepared, but at the same time, don't let it be something that consumes everything, but have those pockets where like, okay, maybe sales could potentially drop because obviously I'm not out here doing the da 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 da, or we have to cancel Thursday nights for the next, 6 weeks. That may be a chunk of your change, but if you have like little pots, if you will, aside for like, okay, your people are still getting paid, so they're still coming out. If you pay for advertisement is still being paid for. If you use a VA or all those things, your business is still that is a huge part of your business outside of you going and unlocking the door, or if you're more social media online business, more than just making a post or having your advertising. There's so many other things that you have to take into that do take money. So make sure that you have pots or whatever you want to call it, an account that you just push money over to, that's a part of your financial plan, so that those things still work when you aren't physically able to do it yourself, or maybe when your income is your net income is going to take a hit because you're not able to give that 100%, and maybe you're giving nothing at the time. So that's just your reserves, your backups. I think that's a huge thing that makes people crash, because when the money is gone, right, what can you do?
To just kind of take all of that into perspective, because I told y'all I treat these like little mini trainings. Okay, so in your business, is it important to pay yourself? And just what happens if the unexpected hits and you just have to sit down somewhere? Are you paying yourself? How do you come up with that to pay yourself? Because I ain't making no money to pay myself. What y'all doing? Somebody.
I was just curious if Tameka was going to hop in first, because I'm looking at her as you're asking the question, and I'm not sure if we have the same answer. So I was just curious of what she was going to say. So I will start with this. When you say pay yourself, like I always have to clarify, like what exactly do you mean when I answer this question? And the reason I ask this like this is when you say pay yourself, are you saying from a positive surplus of your business, or are you saying providing yourself with some finances for like emergencies or things that'll happen?
Well, I never thought about that part, but just you're working and you get paid. I don't know. I mean, yes, obviously your business is making money for your business, but are you giving yourself a paycheck? a cut of what your business is making, I'm assuming.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to first go back to it's so funny. What did I just see this morning? I think it was a reel or something. But yeah, it was a reel. If I find it, I'll send it to you. The reality for most entrepreneurs, right? So in the reel, he was like, you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur. You have to be crazy to be a business owner. And the reason being is because you have to go in believing you're going to make money, knowing that you're probably not, right? Believing that the people will come for whatever you have, knowing that immediately they won't, right? And the reason I start with that analogy is because it's not like a job. You know, when you go in and you clock in, how much money you're making an hour, how much money you're going to make that week, how much money you're going to make that month, how much money you're going to make that year. And you get paid, right? The reality for most small business owners, they're in debt for a very, very, very long time before they're actually profitable. Okay. So, me to directly answer that question, if your business is in debt, right, and you're paying yourself from debt. You're not really paying yourself from a surplus because you don't have a surplus to pay yourself, right? But I do believe that it is just as important to have a safety net from debt because you don't want to have unexpected things, because that's how businesses go out of business, right? Because they can't maintain the amount of debt ratio to still be operable. So I don't know if I would directly say that I'm paying myself. I'm just keeping myself from not going out of business. I'm keeping myself afloat. And there is a nest that sits here, because I think Tameka talked about the nest, right? There's a nest that sits here because things are going to happen. They're going to happen. And even if it's not just simply, I need to take some time off, things are going to happen, right? If you have a food truck, the motor's going to go out. Okay. The oil that you normally was purchasing now all of a sudden doubled in price, right? It's always going to be something. And so you do need to have this fund that says, hey, when it happens, we're prepared. So I hope that answered the question.
And I'll take the other side of that, because I was like, well, it depends on what kind of business. Are you a profitable one? Or you like, so I'll take the other side, since Dayna took the took the not nice side. I'll take the other side. So if you're a profitable business, no matter what you are, but the three of us are in network marketing, so I'll kind of speak to that. But this can apply to everyone just because I have this knowledge. If you say you are making, like, you're profitable, you're at our, at $15,000 a month or whatever the case may be, like, the logic, the smart behind comment, right, is, well, of course you should be paying yourself. But the way I think, like, legally, in my mind, I don't play with Big Brother IRS, right? So if they listen to this conversation, you ain't got to come for me. I listen. You want to have a paper trail, right? You want to be able to explain everything. This is when it comes to money in my business. I'm like, if I can't explain it, I ain't claiming it, right? You need to be able to explain everything that happens. And so, like, you should have a separate checking account or whatever for your business, whether you've gone in your LLC and you've gone in and you actually have like a business set up with a credit union or whoever's best for you in your area. You want to have it separate, because you want to be taking money out of there separately that has nothing to do with your everyday living, because all of that's too much to explain. So yes, you should be paying yourself. If you can pay yourself, you should be paying yourself, and it should come out that way. Even if if you're way up there, you're making millions a year, right? There are systems for self-employed where you become an employee for yourself, because that's first of all, safety. It's trackable. Now, how you do percentages, I've seen so many like different things. I think you'd have to do a little bit of the research and determine for yourself, but you should be paying yourself, because you are, I think we talked about in I believe we did, or maybe I had it with somebody else, but I swear we had an episode where we talked about, liability and things within, and it may have even been on when we brought our spouses on, and we talked about the liabilities and things with your business. Dayna is LLC'd, and so there are liability issues. There are ways to protect yourself. Everybody has probably seen the reels where you're talking about how you basically protect your money, but nothing is tied to your actual name. You're putting it like, there's so many avenues to that, but it's all a protection of your business and how you do things. For us specifically, there was a chick, and I don't remember her name. But that's how I do my taxes with her, because she was an auditor for the IRS. So she does a whole like Young Living thing. Because there are just little nuances, but you should be paying yourself, again, if you're outside of what Dayna was talking about, because obviously you don't want to be taking a loan out to pay yourself. That's, not it, sis. Don't do it. But if you're in that profitable, you should, because you are CEO, right? Get the payment. I'm sure any of these Fortune 500s, even if they are the founder of it, they're not just going into the major bank account and saying, "Oh, I want this Bentley," swipe the government card. There is a linkage of like, hey, we paid Dr. whatever this amount of money. Even if you're making $1 million a month, there is still a thing, because you stay out of the fraudulent. So there is a transaction that says, hey, we paid, even if his name is on the actual, or her name is on the major account, there's still a transaction of being paid. So that's the other side. For me, legal purposes, do the right thing.
And I will say, just to add, that's why, and we're not going to get into logistics on that too, but that's also where you get to a space where an LLC doesn't make as much sense as an S Corp would, or then a corporation would, because that's how they cover themselves, right? That's when you are elevating, right? If you are at the space in your business where you're an S Corp, right? You take yourself out of that liability, because now everything goes into the corporation. And you are an employee of the corporation.
Anybody needs help with that, put it in the comments. Maybe we'll do a whole episode, because it is a legit thing, and way outside of this conversation, there are a lot of protections, obviously, that you need to have for yourself and your business, because if you don't, that can become an unexpected hit that you're like, yo, like, because like nobody wants to be audited, nobody wants, it could happen, which is great, but yeah, totally can do an episode, a whole thing, because it is a thing, and it is a great protection to have. I know we mentioned before, stop forcing yourself into being an entrepreneur, because it is not for everybody. There's so many people are getting into business, doing crazy things, people going to jail. That's an unexpected hit that you don't want to have, only because you made the decision to do these things. And it's a lot more behind it, besides just, hey, I want to make t-shirts for you on the fly. And there's a lot that goes into it. If anybody needs help with that, or think would benefit from an episode, please drop that in the comments, because again, we want to be able to serve you guys in the best way. And I know when I first started digging into that, I was like, no, pump the brakes, it's too much. But it is beneficial and will help in the long run. Andriana, I hope that answers your question, because that was like a whole thing. All right, y'all. We hope that helps you with planning. Again, that is something that you can even apply to this summertime. Mamas and daddies running businesses out there. It's summer, right? You don't want to be sent your computer. Schedule those things. Dayna is great at doing this 30 days. I had to let that thing go. Even if even if you get 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, right? You've got days where you can, and then you just plug in. It's so seamless. Even for your brick and mortar business, I know there are ways that you can automate so that you can enjoy this time. Or if, tragedy strikes, something unexpected happens, that you can take the time away, and it's one less thing for you to think about. So plan ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. Check your systems, like do all the things. Rewind this back if you need to catch all those tips. I know it was kind of like Dayna did good at saying tip 1, I couldn't remember, y'all. Things were just popping in. So take this back if you need to. The YouTube link is in the comments. You can find this episode and everyone before that, and everyone that will come after that. Again, if there's any way that we can serve you better, please do not hesitate to reach out to us or drop a comment. We would love to feature you, or even just hold an episode to your question. We have done that before, because we don't hit on everything. We just want to bring you what we feel like are topics and issues that are coming up within our own communities and in the space of women in business, especially those in the BIPOC community, because we know conversations need to be had, and that's the only way that we move forward, is by having those hard conversations, or the easy ones that just need a little more clarity. But any way that we can help, let us know, and we will see you guys next week, same time, same place, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central. Until then, y'all have an amazing week.